Hey all, this is Igor from Stone Jesus, and I'm here to remind you that on February 24th, our third album, The Harvest, turned 5 years old. And in a way to celebrate this, I'm here to talk about 5 lesser known facts about The Harvest. Okay, let's go! That's right, they should have been 2 albums, not 1, but 2 full-length albums. And I think we even posted about this on our Facebook page, so you can read all about it. And the first album should have been the doom metal album with the material that was written mostly around the time of First Communion, maybe a bit before First Communion, a bit after, including the song Rituals of the Sun. Yep, that's we played since I think 2010, even with the first lineup. And the second album should have been The Harvest itself, the actual album called Harvest, which was more in this sort of a proggy vein, you know, like very much inspired by the dark Scandinavian mellotron-based prog rock like Anecdoten and Motorcycle and sort of the stuff that elder guys are doing right now. And that should have been our prog stoner record, and I'm doing this because prog stoner, it's like not the actual genre, it's more of a tag that I'm using lately. So we started working on both records simultaneously at the very end of 2013. I think we recorded Wound and Here Come the Roberts for the Harvest record and Rituals of the Sun for the doom metal record. But then many things happened, most notably like, you know, we got fired from our day jobs and war in Ukraine happened and the whole Maidan thing, and all the deadlines got really freaked up. And we still had to do this record and to put it out, and we had the tour booked and all this stuff. So I would say it's a miracle this album even got completed and released. Yep, that's true. Black Church is the only song from Stone Jesus albums that was never ever played live. Well, the history of this song is when we were actually finalizing the Harvest album, and we sort of concentrated on this very record instead of, like, you know, the doom metal record, because we wanted to show like really the new direction and the way that the band would eventually go further on. There should have been this really long, 22-minute long, I think, track called The River. And it was just a like raw demo with me playing drums and playing basically everything else. And I showed this demo to Sergei Knop, like the sound guy who was responsible for the sound on the Harvest album. And he was like, "Do you play this live, guys?" And we're like, "No." And he's like, "Yeah, that's not gonna work." You know, because we had deadlines and all that, and we also needed like maximum top-notch performance for every track, so yeah, we figured we're gonna concentrate on another track. And this another track was Black Church, which was actually written around the time of First Communion, and at first it was like solely a strictly doom metal track, you know, with very much genre-based concept, but later on it got changed because, you know, like the first part was pretty much influenced by the Swans and seeing Swans play live and this like relentless pummeling rhythm that they sort of known for. And then there was the second part where we basically got experimental, and we were just experimenting with some weird sounds and drum machines and whatnot. And that was mostly inspired by early My Dying Bride records, yeah, because like on every early album they had this weird trip-hoppy, electronic, noisy interludes of sorts when they were just losing their shit and just doing whatever, and we were like, yeah, let's do that. And the final part was very much inspired by one of my favorite bands ever, Wondergraph Generator. It's like very organ based, very like, you know, church organ heavy, and there should have been even a saxophone solo. But again, we didn't have enough time and we didn't have enough, you know, like stamina to work through this all, so we just left it sort of this organ based, like really sorrowful coda that goes on and on and on till it goes like into fade out. And the reason we never played this one live is basically because it's very, very long and slow, and it's not really built for, you know, like a live show. And it also means that we would give like 1/5 of our live set to a song that like probably not everybody loves, and that would be like a huge gamble, especially if you would love to hear 2 or 3 songs instead of this one. So yeah, I don't know, maybe at some point we will come up with some special event like, hey, Stone Jesus playing Black Church live for the first and probably last time. But for now, you know, like the length and the organ and all the electronic parts, this is basically very hard to replicate live, and we would love to do it like 100% live the way it's on the album. So yeah, I don't know, but we'll see. The Harvest, the song is not on The Harvest, the album. That's true, the actual song The Harvest was one of the first written for the album, written in this like sorta proggy 6/8 melancholic mellotron heavy style, but later it sorta moved to be the final part of Silkworm Confession epic. And with the Harvest release date being autumn, because come on, the Harvest is happening in the autumn, right? And with us like sorta killing all the deadlines, we decided against even working on it, so we concentrated on Silkworm Confessions instead. But later in 2015, when the album was already released, we had this opportunity to do a co-headlining tour with the guys from Greenleaf. And they like one of our favorite bands and super nice people. And there was this idea to do a 7-inch split record with their song on one side and our song on the other side. And this is where I was like, hey, let's do this, the Harvest record, like this, the Harvest song, you know. So we sort of recorded it, but then the idea like vanished into the ether. I think because the guys were working on their own album and they just didn't want, you know, like to lose concentration and stuff. So we just released the song The Harvest right before this tour in September of 2015, and we haven't played it live till 2016. And for this reason it's not on the album, it's not even on any physical media, it's not on streamings and whatnots, but we're working on that and we're gonna bring it to you soon. Well, the reason this song is really so important is that it sort of binds together both concepts, like the doom metal album and the prog stoner album. It just, you know, like unites us, not only in musical terms because it has this like stonery vibe, but it's also pretty like complex in structure, but also conceptually, because with Youth for Sale happening, sort of, it became this kind of album with like the concept of man versus the machine. And actually Youth for Sale was pretty much inspired by what was going on at the time in Ukraine, Maidan and the war with Russia, and I actually wrote it like in 15 minutes, and it was very bitter song and very angry song. And the anger was directed towards all those people that make other people, you know, like die and do horrible things. And this war with Russia, it's still going on. Like, if it's not on your newsfeed, it doesn't mean that it's not happening, you know? And I haven't been home because of that for like nearly 6 years. and it was really heavy song in like every term, and it was really emotional to play it live. And actually this is the reason why we stopped playing it live, because it was like the central part of this whole concept, and we pretty much like concept-based, setlist-based band. So when we were wrapping up the concept of the Harvest, starting the new concept with Pilgrims, there was no place anymore for Youth for Sale. This is my favorite like fact because not many people understand like the way a DIY band operates and what's really happening. And I think most of you probably assume that we were like crazy superstars back in 2012 when Seven Thunders Roll was released, but in fact there was none of that. Like no YouTube success with I'm the Mountain like scoring those crazy numbers. No like overfilled concert halls or anything. Now we were just like playing for 30 or 50 people or something like that. But with the Harvest being as different as it is, it actually created sort of a controversy that we didn't really aim for. The thing was that we did like 3 videos prior to the release of the album, but we didn't really work with media to build up the hype, you know. So I guess many people assumed that the Harvest was gonna be like Seven Thunders #2 with like I'm the Mountain #2 and Electric Misters #2 and whatnot. And people probably didn't expect us to be this experimental and this like, you know, open to challenges and all that. But what warms my heart is that this is our breakthrough album in Ukraine. And when we were playing release party for the Harvest, like just mere weeks after its release, like all the audience knew the lyrics and they were singing along, and that was so nice and so cool. And it also opened us to a lot of young people, because mostly like the older fans of the genre, they'd be like, yeah, Blackwoods and I'm the Mountain. And the younger guys have, I guess, more open mind, and they willing to hear something new, something different, and they were not afraid of this like modern sound that we had on the Harvest. For us, the Harvest is really, really important, and it really cool that more and more people discover it with every year, and they ask for more songs from it to be featured in our future live set list, and we'll see about that. We'll see about that. So thank you all for the support, and just enjoy the music.